But first, a few weeks back, I interviewed on this program the New South Wales Premier about the prospect of having a vaccine on its way to Australia and how ready we were to roll it out. I thought, how positive must this be? Well, I'll never forget her partly contorted face that followed that statement and the wise words we heard. Keep your expectations down, she said.
I'm always hopeful and optimistic about the future, but I think 2021 will bring its own challenges. I think the vaccine rollout will be very complicated and difficult.
How right is she? As it's turned out, today, her health minister, Brad Hazzard, not one to be dragged into a stoush too easily, as we've seen, put up his big red flag publicly to say that the federal rollout through GP clinics at the end of this month should be junked. He wants the feds to supply the vaccine, obviously, but leave the state and territory health departments and the regular GP networks around the country to roll out those jabs, as they do each and every year before and during the flu season. In other words, they have a system already in place. Leave good enough alone and don't shortchange the clinics. Again, money is never far away from a good health row. However, it should be said that both the Australian Medical Association and the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners are urging doctors to stay the course. And let's hope they do, despite the lack of proper communication and logistical support from the feds, which has never been too flash. The Federal Health Minister today did not seem likely to reverse the arrangements.
There are some. I did have one Toorak doctor who talked to me about how much they wanted to charge patients. And we said, sorry, this is free. This is bulk billed. This is something that we've striven for, worked for as a society.
I'll get to that further in just a short while. But meanwhile, we expected the European Union to cause delays in the distribution of vaccines Australia have purchased abroad. And Italy in particular has been more interested in placating its citizens, who of course have been through far more pain and loss than we have here in Australia. But what do the French think they're up to? France is now threatening to block COVID shipments to Australia, saying it wants a European approach to the issue, whatever that means. I guess we can take a calculated guess that if you're an ally of the English, who they've just broken up with, you can wait your turn as well, despite promises and agreements that have been signed and, of course, ratified. Now, no one here seems to be panicking just yet. Greg Hunt was certainly not doing that today. After all, we begin using an Australian-produced AstraZeneca vaccine on March the 22nd. We're well catered for. So maybe there'll be a slower rollout over the next couple of weeks, but we will cope. However, what a prime opportunity to rid ourselves of a fleet of French duds in the form of those $90 billion submarines. It is just perfect. If the French wish to ignore signed agreements on shipments of the vaccine, no real skin off our nose. Let's tear up the sub-agreement, which not too many Australians want. It's been a cost blowout embarrassment and will be redundant technology by the time they're built. Now, the news last weekend, you'll recall, was that some in the federal government were reconsidering that deal. Well, here it is, on a platter for you. Accept the challenge. No vaccine, that's fine. No subs. And to so many in the defence space in this country, that would be no big deal. Because unless they're nuclear powered, they are just plain duds.